السلام عليكم.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد. Praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We praise Him, we seek His assistance and implore Him to forgive us. I bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that He has made the Holy Quran a clarification of all things as guidance and mercy and good tidings for the Muslims. My dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, the subject of my khutbah today is it's in the context of a specific surah of the Quran, going through the surah, but I want to take a step back before we went into that. And that, Quran it is our book, of course, it is the book of Muslims, but it is something that unfortunately, perhaps even within the Muslim community, but definitely outside the Muslim community, and for non-Muslims, something that is very, ambiguous, and strange. And what is this in your religion? What is this Quran that you read? What is this Sharia law that you talk about, right? These are the typical things that people will ask, or people will try and spread fear about this if they want to attack Islam. And a lot of times we find ourselves defensive, right? Well, the Quran, this is the word of God, but then we don't know how to explain it further, or this is things that are there, but we don't quite practice it that way. So, subhanAllah, I just want to emphasize, and this is the point of the khutbah today, is the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed it for, Quran is many different things. It is our holy book, it is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala undisputed, it is the miracle, right? This is the miracle of Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam. And part of what that means, and being the miracle, is that, subhanAllah, in very beautiful, concise words that challenge anybody who knows the language, beyond that, it is a rule book, it is how we live our lives. And so not only does it go into issues of religion and ibadah, worship, but also equally importantly, it goes into issues of social justice. And so we always hear these things, and I'm sure, there's probably heard other khutbah, talk about this. I just wanted to emphasize again in the context of this one surah, but the Quran discusses all these things, right? So before anybody comes to talk to us about, your Sharia law is from, 1400 years ago, tell me, yes, we're proud of it, and it explains a lot of things that you're struggling with as a community today. And and of course they will point to Muslim countries, and we're not perfect, right? We're human beings, and unfortunately our Muslim countries are not representing the Quran, as many of us might know, in the proper context. But that's not to say that Islam is wrong. So always keep that point, because they will always use that point against us. So inshallah, we want to be the ambassadors of what's in the Quran. And in that context, I want to spend a few minutes discussing Surah Al-Hujurat. It's a very beautiful surah. In many ways, only a few ayahs, but subhanAllah, it talks about many of the issues that, again, from a social context, is the cause of ill and troubles and disagreements between people. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us a prescription in the surah. So inshallah, that's the topic of the khutbah today, is just to kind of briefly examine Surah Al-Hujurat. And I encourage you, especially those, again, if your family and kids, is to spend some time with them and pick specific surahs in the Quran and explain to them how they can implement it. Surah An-Nur is another beautiful surah, again, that talks about social interaction and things you should teach your children. This is what the Rasul and the Sahaba did. Unfortunately, many of us, maybe alhamdulillah, we give the Quran its due respect, but it's only reading and memorizing perhaps, and we stop there, which is very important, of course, but we have to go beyond that. That's not why the Quran was revealed, just to be memorized. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins in Surah Al-Hujurat, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تُقَدِّمُوا بَيْنَ يَدَيِ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. So right off the beginning, Allah is saying, "O you who believe." Okay, so the speech, the command is to us, the people who've believed in this Quran. Do not put yourselves forward before Allah and His Messenger, and fear Allah. Verily, Allah is all hearing and all knowing. So first thing, before we can talk about any sort of social justice or how we interact with others, the first thing is the faith, aqidah. As a Muslim, yes, I believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I believe in the Rasul, I believe in the Quran, and this is what guides everything that will come forth. So the very first thing, you believe, all you who believe, you decided you are a believer. Nobody forced you to become a believer. Now you have to submit to Allah's will. And so part of that is fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you fear Allah and give the Rasul ﷺ his proper status, right? And the Rasul, when Muballigh, he's the one that translated, who brought this message forth. So he interprets it for us. So it's not enough to say, I believe in Allah, I believe in the Quran, but I don't know how a Rasul interpreted it for us. So this is right off the bat, setting the stage for how a Muslim should behave and take the commands. Because the surah will go into commands. And the Quran is all about this, right? So then, the second ayah, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَلَا تَرْفَعُوا أَصْوَاتَكُمْ فَوْقَ صَوْتِ النَّبِيِّ وَلَا تَجْهَرُوا لَهُ بِالْقَوْلِ كَجَهْرِ بَعْضِكُمْ لِبَعْضٍ أَن تَحْبَطَ أَعْمَالَكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَشْعُرُونَ. So, O you who believe, raise not your voices above the voice of the Prophet ﷺ, nor speak aloud to him in talk as you speak unto one another, lest your deeds may be rendered fruitless while you perceive not. So, of course, don't have enough time to go into the reasons for the sabab al-nuzul, the reasons why this surah came down, but it was because there were some companions that were raising their voice and calling a Rasul from with a loud voice from other rooms, not giving him his due respect. So again, this is getting into now the respect part, right? And we talk, nowadays one of the big ills of the society is this lack of respect, right? Whether it's between people and their peers, whether it's young to older, and we say, well, the youth nowadays, they don't have respect for the adults, for example, like we had for our adults. Okay, that might be true, but then that's a two-way street, right? The youth didn't grow up in a vacuum. So if the youth are not showing the proper respect, we need to analyze and understand why, and maybe the adults weren't the good role models for them. Maybe there's other reasons. They feel like they're not being respected in their own right. They're not given, the right to voice their opinions, and so this is how they lash out and say, well, and show that disrespect. So we have to. This is the point. This is, Allah here, and we shouldn't be shy to talk about these things. So here, Sahaba, they made an error or they made a mistake, and Allah, corrected them in ayat that we read that became Quran, for 1,000, to the day of judgment. Allah, in essence, is correcting their behavior. So for us, what do we take from this is, of course, Rasul ﷺ, is the utmost status. We respect him, and we teach that to our youth. But then, kind of taking as an example to implement in our lives, Rasul is not with us today, but Islam teaches us to respect those who are in authority, right? As long as they're not telling us to do anything against the Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to give them the proper due respect and to follow commands. Following is also another thing that we have. Being a follower in our communities in general, this is something that maybe people look down on, so everybody wants to have their opinion and be the leader. Well, that doesn't work, right? There has to be somebody who's leading, and there have to be people who are following, and it doesn't mean one is less than the other. This is how we function. And so, subhanAllah, all these things you can pull out of these ayat and implement. And again, Islam teaches us in a very beautiful way. And so, just reiterating, making Quran a living, breathing example for all of us. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the next ayah continues and says, إن الذين يغضون أصواتهم عند رسول الله أولئك الذين امتحن الله قلوبهم للتقوى لهم مغفرة وأجر عظيم. Verily those who lower their voices in the presence of Allah's Messenger عليه الصلاة والسلام, they are the ones whose hearts Allah has tested for piety. For them is forgiveness and a great reward. And then on the other side, إن الذين ينادونك من وراء الحجرات أكثرهم لا يعقلون. Allah says about the other party that those who call you from behind the dwellings, most of them have no sense. So again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just kind of putting the two examples in front of us and saying that you need to have taqwa, but then also reason, right? And do the right thing. I want to skip, so that's kind of the beginning, the context of the ayah. And again, this was the reason for the nuzul, the sabab, the reason for the ayahs being revealed. The rest of the Quran, the ayat are even more general, that we can really implement to any situation. So the next ayah, right away Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِن جَاءَكُمْ فَاسِقٌ بِنَبَإٍ فَتَبَيَّنُوا أَن تُصِيبُوا قَوْمًا بِجَهَالَةٍ فَتُصْبِحُوا عَلَى مَا فَعَلْتُمْ نَادِمِينَ. Allah is saying, O you who believe, another command to those who believe, if a rebellious person comes to you with news, verify it, lest you harm people in ignorance and afterwards you become regretful to what you have done. So subhanAllah, there's so much in this ayah that we can think about. So Allah is giving us a command again. When you hear something, right, and who of us has not been in that situation where somebody comes and says something, or such and such said, or a rumor is circulating. Well, subhanAllah, look at this ayah, what it's telling you to do. It's saying, first of all, don't just spread this news, right? What is Allah commanding us to do? He's commanding you, فَتَبَيَّنُوا, be certain, right? What's the danger or the consequence of not being certain? If you just hear something and spread it. Allah tells us, what? You might hurt a people, right? Bijahala, you didn't really mean to, but you did, and then you become regretful. Now think about it in your own personal life, in the community. And the reason I bring this up is because, subhanAllah, nowadays, as all of you are aware, news spreads, they say news spreads like wildfire. Now it's probably even faster than that, right? With social media and like WhatsApp groups and people, and I want to make two quick points about that before I move on, is that, alhamdulillah, there are people that have great intentions, right? And so they'll spend forward things, and maybe it's a hadith or a story and thing. So what is and they say, well, spread this amongst your contacts, whatever. Well, what is your responsibility then? The point I'm making, your responsibility is to verify that before you spread it, even though they have good intentions. It could be a hadith. A lot of hadith that's spread around, by the way, in these groups and things are not authentic. So that's one thing. That's the optimistic view. There's also the pessimistic view, or the other side is people are intentionally spreading false news within the Muslim community, whether within the community or like enemies of the Muslim community, and just letting us kind of digest it and spread it ourselves. And so in other words, we have to be smart. Okay, so this applies to issues of religion, also issues of, again, your life, your community. You hear something, don't just spread the news without verifying it. SubhanAllah, you think, oh, it's such a minor thing, but Allah, He revealed an ayah telling us to do this. And look at us now, when our situation, where truly this, is getting out of control, right? There's so much news out there and so much things that you need to verify. And then in the broader community, look at all these, debates about what's new, what's real and what's not real in the news and all that sort of thing. And of course, messages can be manipulated. Governments manipulate messages, people manipulate messages. It's on a Muslim to verify before they act, especially when it comes to the umur of deen. So this is the point I want to make about that ayah. So in the interest of time, so the next point I wanted to bring up, يا أيها الذين this is ayah number 12, Surah Al-Hujurat. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اجتنبوا كثيرا من الظن إن بعض الظن إثم ولا تجسسوا ولا يغتب بعضكم بعضا. Okay, so the translation, O you who believe, avoid much suspicion. And indeed, some suspicions are sins, and spy not, neither backbite one another. So subhanAllah, again, an ayah that short but packed with so much advice that we really, really need, that the Muslims needed then, and we definitely very much need today. Suspicion, this, again, hearsay, comes from the same thing. It's good to have some skepticism in general, but it has to be like a healthy level of skepticism. So in other words, if somebody maybe does something, maybe, okay, first time you see this person, or action seems kind of strange, maybe question a little bit, but always having suspicion about people and doubting them and doubting their intentions and doubting all this and that, that is not a healthy way to have a relationship and to build a community. And so Allah is telling us, avoid, didn't say avoid all of suspicion, avoid much. اجتنبوا كثيرا من الظن. So that's also, subhanAllah, Allah is giving very, very precise advice. So again, you have to have some skepticism and be smart. And the second part of the ayah is another very important part of advice. وَلَا يَغْتَبْ بَعْضُكُمْ بَعْضًا. And do not backbite. And this in itself, backbiting is something that, so backbiting is talking about, somebody behind their back. Even like from a moral standpoint, it seems like this is not the right thing to do, right? It's something inside us. But Allah is going to make it very, very clear how like vulgar and really ill this kind of behavior, how bad this behavior is. Look at the comparison Allah is going to use in the remainder of the ayah. He says, أَيُحِبُّ أَحَدُكُمْ أَن يَأْكُلَ لَحْمَ أَخِيهِ مَيْتًا فَكَرِهْتُمُوهُ. Allah is saying, think about this. Allah is saying, would one of you, if you're backbiting, like to eat the flesh of his dead brother? You would hate it so. SubhanAllah, look at how vile the comparison is. When you talk about somebody behind their back, Allah is saying, imagine yourself, you can't even eating the flesh of your dead brother. That's how bad it is. Think about that. And so again, do you think if we have this ayah in front of us and in our minds, half of what's being said would be said, half of what gets spread on groups and social media would be said? No. But we've disassociated. We maybe read this ayah many times, maybe, and maybe we don't know the meaning. Maybe this is the first time we understood the meaning, or maybe not. But if you really just spend a few minutes to think about this, I would guarantee none of us would fall into this trap of backbiting, because this breaks the fabric of society. So subhanAllah, Allah again is really getting to the heart of things that break these relationships. If there's no trust, how can we have a society? If there's no trust, how can we have family relationships? If there's no trust, how can we have anything? And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is getting to the foundation of the things that cause this ill. قولوا قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه غفور رحيم. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. So in the next few minutes that I have left, inshallah, I wanted to just continue again with Surah Al-Hujurat. As you can see, subhanAllah, every ayah, there's some really important bit of advice Allah is giving us. In the next ayah, I want to highlight, يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا يسخر قوم من قوم عسى أن يكونوا خيرا منهم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا. Again, Allah is commanding those who you believe, us who came here for Jum'ah, we are all being addressed here. O you who believe, let not a group scoff at another group. It may be that the latter are better than the former. Again, something that nowadays is almost like second nature. Second nature, right? You open up, you read an article, you watch something on a video, maybe talk to some people. One way or another, something in the conversation will be making fun of such and such, making fun of such and such group, making disparaging comments about this or that. It became almost normal, almost second nature, unfortunately. And Allah is saying, do not do this. And he's saying, subhanAllah, even that group you're making fun of or scoffing at, they could be better than the former, right? So not only are you, gaining sayyat in this situation and giving them hasanat, they could already be better than you, and you're making fun of them. And subhanAllah, this is, again, our religion is a beautiful religion, but we need to implement it. Before they talk about equality now, we have that, right? We still have racial issues in this country. We have racial issues in our countries too, as well, in Muslim countries, by the way. But when you look at what Islam is teaching, there is no such thing as a difference in race, in superiority based on race. There is no such thing, and we see it in the time of the Sahaba. We see it in the time of Rasul. So it was implemented. It's not something we just can point to in a book. It's just we need to clean our hearts, and this surah is giving us a few things to do that. If we don't backbite, if we don't talk about ill of others and make fun of others, then where will racism have field to grow? Or it will never. It's impossible. And that's what this society is still struggling with, right? So this is what we have to offer from Islam. And then finally, a couple more things I want to mention before we break in the khutbah. Again, to the points that I was just mentioning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhan nas. Now notice in this ayah, Allah is commanding Ya ayyuhan nas, O mankind. So in all the other ayat, it was a command to the believers. Okay? But now Allah is generalizing, Ya ayyuhan nas, O mankind. What is Allah saying? Inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا. Allah is saying, again, this is a command to people or a speech to all people. It says, we have created you from a male and a female and made you into nations and tribes that you may know one another. In other words, Allah is saying, I'm your creator. I created you. I know your differences. But the differences are not for you to fight over them or to claim superiority. Man is better than woman. Oh, why? Well, in Islam, you say the man is better than the woman because such and such. No. They have different rights, different responsibilities. But Allah, who sent down the Quran, He created us, and He's saying, I know I created a man and a woman. Allah is definitely aware of that. Allah created, tribes and countries and different languages and tongues, but why? Allah is saying, so that you can لِتَعَارَفُوا, so that you get to know one another, learn from one another. So this is also our message. We are all different. We learn from one another. Now the point is to learn the good things. Unfortunately, a lot of times, again, just having lived in the East, we call it, we import things from the West, but we a lot of times import the bad things, unfortunately, or the things that look nice on the surface, right? So it's not a problem to learn from others, but let's take the best from what others have and also offer them the best that we have. So and this is the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Hujurat أيضا, لِتَعَارَفُوا, so that you get to know one another. So finally, I just wanted, this was very brief. I just wanted to, I hope the takeaway from the khutbah is, when we read the surahs, and really take a few minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. Surah Al-Hujurat is not a very long surah. I very quickly picked a few ayahs here and there. Read a simple tafsir explanation, and if you have somebody in your family, include them, and talk to them, have a conversation about it, and maybe they'll open up about things that they've witnessed or they see that we can learn. Again, everybody has something to offer, young, old, man, woman. We just need to use the Quran as it's intended, not just to read it, alhamdulillah, which is important, not just to memorize it, but to implement it. And that should be our message to the community and to everybody outside, the non-Muslims who are looking to us in this country. So ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us amongst those who implements the ayahs of the Quran, who are a living, walking example of the Quran for everybody to learn from us and to be a positive influence on everybody around us. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be that we are from who من يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه, who listen to the speech and implement the best of it. قولوا قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
So اعتدلوا, close the gaps in the lines. Allahu Akbar. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. سبح اسم ربك الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء أحوى سنقرئك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله إنه يعلم الجهر وما يخفى ونيسرك لليسرى فذكر إن نفعت الذكرى سيذكر من يخشى ويتجنبها الأشقى الذي يصلى النار الكبرى ثم لا يموت فيها ولا يحيا قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها وأخرجت الأرض أثقالها وقال الإنسان ما لها يومئذ تحدث أخبارها بأن ربك أوحى لها يومئذ يصدر الناس أشتاتا ليروا أعمالهم فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يره. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.